Learn English through story. The Legend of Robin Hood. Chapter 1. The Boy in Sherwood Forest. In the heart of Sherwood Forest, where ancient oaks towered over lush undergrowth and the songs of birds filled the air, a young boy named Robin eagerly roamed. His father, a humble forester, had taught him the ways of the woods from an early age, instilling in him a deep reverence for nature and a keen eye for survival. On a crisp autumn morning, as the golden sunbeams filtered through the canopy above, Robin ventured deeper into the forest than ever before. His heart pounded with excitement as he imagined the creatures that dwelled within, and the adventures that awaited him. As he trudged along a narrow path, Robin's attention was drawn to a rustling in the bushes nearby. With a curious glint in his eye, he cautiously approached, his senses alert for any sign of danger. To his surprise, he stumbled upon a group of men huddled round a small fire, their faces obscured by the shadows of the trees. Intrigued, Robin edged closer, his curiosity piqued by the sight before him. Little did he know, this chance encounter would mark the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one that would lead him down a path of rebellion, camaraderie, and ultimately, destiny. Chapter 2. Meeting Little John. As Robin observed the group of men gathered round the fire, he noticed their rugged appearance and the air of secrecy that surrounded them. Unsure of whether to approach or retreat, he hesitated, his mind racing with questions. Before he could make a decision, a booming voice shattered the silence of the forest. "Who goes there?" called out a man with broad shoulders and a weathered face, stepping forward from the group. His eyes bored into Robin's, searching for any sign of deceit. Caught off guard, Robin stumbled backward, his heart pounding in his chest. "I mean no harm," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was merely curious." The man regarded him with a mixture of suspicion and amusement, before breaking into a hearty laugh. "Curiosity may have led you here, lad, but it takes more than that to earn our trust." Robin's curiosity outweighed his fear. As he studied the man before him, despite his imposing stature, there was a kindness in his eyes that put Robin at ease. "Who are you?" he ventured, his voice steadier this time. The man's expression softened as he extended a hand toward Robin. "I am known as Little John," he replied, his voice gruff but friendly. "And these are my companions, the merry men of Sherwood." Robin's eyes widened in awe as he realized the significance of the group before him. He had heard tales of the legendary outlaws who defied the Sheriff of Nottingham, but never did he imagine he would encounter them in the flesh. Little John gestured for Robin to join them by the fire, and as he did, the other men greeted him with nods of approval, as they shared stories of their exploits and their mission to uphold justice. In the face of tyranny, Robin felt a sense of belonging wash over him. In that moment, amidst the flickering flames and the rustling leaves of Sherwood Forest, Robin knew that his fate was intertwined with these brave souls. Little did he know, his encounter with the merry men would set him on a path that would change the course of history forever. Chapter 3. Sherwood's Secret Society. As the night deepened, the fire crackled and cast dancing shadows upon the faces of the assembled merry men. On them, the forest seemed to come alive with whispers of the wind and the gentle rustling of leaves. Little John leaned in closer to Robin, his voice low and conspiratorial. "You see, lad, Sherwood Forest is more than just trees and wildlife. It is a sanctuary for those who seek refuge from the injustices of the world." Robin listened intently, hanging on every word. He had always felt a deep connection to the forest, but now he realized its significance extended far beyond its natural beauty. Our band may be small in number, Little John continued, but our cause is mighty. We stand against the tyranny of the sheriff and his unjust laws. And we offer protection to those who have nowhere else to turn. As Robin absorbed the gravity of their mission, he felt a surge of determination course through his veins. He had always harbored a sense of justice, but now he saw an opportunity to make a real difference in the world. But our actions do not come without risks, warned Little John, his voice tinged with solemnity. The sheriff's men are always on the hunt for us, and betrayal lurks on every corner. Robin nodded solemnly, understanding the dangers that lay ahead. But despite the risks, he knew that he could not turn away from the call to action. With newfound resolve, Robin pledged his allegiance to the merry men, vowing to fight alongside them until justice prevailed. And as the night wore on and the fire burned low, the bonds of camaraderie between them grew stronger, forging a brotherhood that would withstand the tests of time. Chapter 4 Maid Marian's Dilemma. As the days turned into weeks, Robin immersed himself in the life of the merry men, honing his skills as an archer and learning the ways of the forest. But amidst the excitement of his newfound comrades, his thoughts often drifted to a fair maiden who held a special place in his heart, Maid Marian. Marian was the daughter of the nobleman Sir Richard of Locksley, and though their stations in life could not have been more different, Robin had admired her from afar since childhood. Her beauty was renowned throughout the land, but it was her kindness and compassion that truly captured Robin's heart. One day, as Robin ventured into the nearby village to procure supplies for the band, he caught sight of Marian strolling through the market square. Her golden locks cascaded down her back, and her eyes sparkled with warmth as she greeted the villagers with a smile, unable to resist the pull of her presence. Robin approached her tentatively, his heart pounding with nervous anticipation. "Marian," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Marian turned to him, her gaze locking with his in surprise. "Robin," she exclaimed, a hint of delight coloring her voice. "What brings you to the village today?" Robin hesitated, unsure of how to express the turmoil that raged within him. I wanted to see you," he admitted, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Marian's smile softened, and she reached out to place a gentle hand on his arm. "I'm glad you came," she said sincerely. "But you must be careful, Robin. The sheriff's men are always watching, and it would not do for them to see us together." Robin nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. The sheriff's disdain for the peasantry was well known, and any association with a member of the nobility could spell trouble for both of them. But despite the risks, Robin could not deny the feelings that burned within him, and as he gazed into Marian's eyes, he knew that their love would endure whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 5 The Merry Men's Revolt. As tensions simmered between the oppressed villagers and the tyrannical rule of the Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin and his band of merry men knew that the time for action had come. The injustices inflicted upon the people of Nottinghamshire had reached a boiling point, and they could no longer stand idly by while their neighbors suffered. Gathering their weapons and steeling their resolve, the merry men embarked on a series of daring raids against the sheriff's forces, striking swiftly and disappearing into the depths of Sherwood Forest before their enemies could retaliate. With each successful raid, their legend grew, inspiring hope in the hearts of the downtrodden and striking fear into the hearts of the oppressors. But as their audacious exploits continued, so too did the sheriff's determination to crush the rebellion. He doubled the patrols throughout the forest, determined to capture Robin and his band and put an end to their defiance once and for all. Undeterred by the increased scrutiny, Robin and his comrades pressed on, their spirits bolstered by the support of the villagers who hailed them as heroes. With each victory, they grew bolder, striking deeper into the heart of the sheriff's domain and striking blows against his corrupt regime. But as the conflict escalated, so too did the stakes. The sheriff's men grew more ruthless in their pursuit of the outlaws, and Robin knew that they could not afford to let their guard down. For a moment, for every victory they claimed, the sheriff's forces grew more determined to see them brought to justice, and the fate of Nottinghamshire hung in the balance. Chapter 6: A Noble Cause. As Robin and his band of merry men continued their fight against the oppressive regime of the Sheriff of Nottingham, their actions began to attract attention far beyond the borders of Sherwood Forest. Tales of their daring exploits spread like wildfire, inspiring others to rise up against injustice and tyranny wherever it reared its ugly head. Noble knights and righteous warriors from distant lands came to Sherwood, drawn by the allure of Robin's cause and the promise of a better future for all. Among them was Sir Richard of Locksley, Marian's father, who had long harbored doubts about the sheriff's true intentions but lacked the courage to openly defy him. With Sir Richard's support, Robin's band gained a powerful ally in their quest for justice. His knowledge of the inner workings of the nobility proved invaluable, providing them with vital intelligence and strategic insight that allowed them to outmaneuver the sheriff's forces at every turn. But as their ranks swelled with new recruits, and their victories mounted, Robin knew that their greatest challenge still lay ahead. The sheriff had grown desperate in his attempts to quell the rebellion, resorting to ever more ruthless tactics in his quest to crush the resistance. Yet despite the odds stacked against them, Robin remained undeterred in his conviction that their cause was just. With the support of his comrades and the unwavering belief in the righteousness of their mission, he vowed to continue fighting until every man, woman, and child in Nottinghamshire could live free from fear and oppression. Chapter 7: The Sheriff's Scheme. As the conflict between Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham escalated, the sheriff grew increasingly desperate to rid Nottinghamshire of the outlaw menace once and for all. Determined to bring an end to the rebellion, he devised a cunning scheme to lure Robin out of hiding and deliver him into the hands of justice. Under the cover of darkness, the sheriff dispatched his most trusted spies to infiltrate Sherwood Forest and gather intelligence on Robin's whereabouts. Disguised as travelers seeking refuge, they wormed their way into the confidence of the villagers, posing as allies while secretly working to undermine the merry men from within. Unaware of the danger lurking in their midst, Robin and his comrades continued their fight against the sheriff's forces, their spirits buoyed by their recent victories and the support of the people. But as the days turned into weeks, whispers began to spread among the villagers of strangers asking questions, of secrets betrayed, and of shadows lurking in the night. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Robin ordered increased patrols throughout the forest, warning his band to remain vigilant for any signs of treachery. But despite their best efforts, the spies continued to evade detection, slipping through their fingers like smoke on the wind. As tensions mounted and paranoia spread like wildfire, Robin knew that they were running out of time. The sheriff's trap was closing in on them, and if they did not act swiftly, all would be lost, with the fate of Nottinghamshire hanging in the balance. Robin prepared to confront his greatest challenge yet. Chapter 8: Friar Tuck's Feast. as the threat of the sheriff's spies loomed large over Sherwood Forest. Robin and his band of merry men found solace in the simple joys of camaraderie and friendship. Despite the ever-present danger, they refused to let fear dictate their actions, choosing instead to celebrate the bonds that united them in their struggle against oppression. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the forest was bathed in the soft glow of twilight, the merry men gathered round a crackling fire to feast and revel in each other's company. In the center of their makeshift camp, a hearty stew bubbled in a large cauldron, filling the air with tantalizing aromas that set their stomachs rumbling with anticipation. As they sat down to eat, laughter and music filled the air, banishing the shadows of doubt that lingered in the corners of their minds. Robin regaled his comrades with tales of their past adventures, each more embellished than the last, while Little John led them in rollicking songs that echoed through the forest. But amidst the merriment, a sense of unease hung over the gathering like a dark cloud. The threat of betrayal weighed heavily on their hearts, casting a shadow over their joyous reunion. For even in the midst of their revelry, they knew that the sheriff's spies could be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, determined not to let fear spoil their feast. Robin raised his goblet high, and proposed a toast to their continued defiance against tyranny and oppression. To Sherwood and all who call her home, he declared, his voice ringing out clear and strong, may we never falter in our quest for justice, and may our bonds of friendship withstand whatever trials lie ahead. The merry men echoed his words with fervor, their spirits buoyed by the strength of their camaraderie, and the knowledge that they were not alone in their fight. And as they raised their voices in song and laughter, they vowed to face whatever challenges awaited them with courage, determination, and a steadfast belief in the righteousness of their cause. Chapter 9. In the Shadow of Nottingham Castle. As the days passed and the tension in Sherwood Forest reached a fever pitch, Robin Hood and his band of merry men found themselves drawn ever closer to the heart of the sheriff's domain. Nottingham Castle, perched atop a rocky outcrop overlooking the bustling town below. The castle stood as a symbol of the sheriff's power and authority, its towering walls and imposing gates a constant reminder of the challenges they faced in their quest for justice. But despite the dangers that awaited them within its shadowy confines, Robin knew that they could not afford to shy away from the looming threat. With the sheriff's spies closing in around them, and the fate of Nottinghamshire hanging in the balance, they had no choice but to confront their adversary head-on. Gathering his comrades around him, Robin outlined his plan to infiltrate the castle under cover of darkness, and gather intelligence on the sheriff's movements and intentions. With Friar Tuck's knowledge of the castle's layout and Marian's connections among the nobility, they hoped to gain the upper hand and turn the tide of the conflict in their favor. Under the cover of night, they set out on their perilous journey, moving stealthily through the dense undergrowth and avoiding the patrols that prowled the forest in search of intruders. As they drew closer to their destination, the tension in the air grew palpable, each step bringing them one step closer to the heart of the lion's den. But as they reached the outskirts of Nottingham Castle, and caught sight of its forbidding silhouette looming against the night sky, Robin knew that their greatest challenge still lay ahead. With the fate of Nottinghamshire hanging in the balance, he steeled himself for the battle that awaited them, and vowed to do whatever it took to emerge victorious. Chapter 10. The Prince's Intrigue. Within the walls of Nottingham Castle, amidst the opulence and grandeur that befitted a royal residence, Prince John plotted and schemed to tighten his grip on power and crush any hint of rebellion against his rule, though he ruled in his brother King Richard's absence. His lust for power knew no bounds, and he saw the unrest in Nottinghamshire as a threat to his authority that must be extinguished at any cost. As rumors of Robin Hood's daring exploits reached his ears, Prince John saw an opportunity to rid himself of a persistent thorn in his side, and curry favor with his subjects in one fell swoop. He dispatched his most trusted advisers to the Sheriff of Nottingham with orders to capture the outlaw and bring him to justice, promising a handsome reward to whoever succeeded in delivering him into the prince's custody. But as the sheriff mobilized his forces and intensified his efforts to hunt down Robin Hood and his merry men, a shadowy figure lurked in the shadows, watching and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sir Guy of Gisborne, the sheriff's right-hand man and a cunning strategist in his own right, saw an opportunity to further his own ambitions and gain favor with the prince by capturing the outlaw and delivering him into the prince's waiting arms. With his keen intellect and ruthless determination, Sir Guy set out to outmaneuver Robin Hood and his band of merry men at every turn, using every means at his disposal to track their movements and anticipate their next move. And as the conflict between the outlaws and the forces of the sheriff reached its boiling point, Sir Guy knew that the fate of Nottinghamshire hung in the balance, and that only one side would emerge victorious in the end. Chapter 11. Showdown at the Archery Contest. Amidst the turmoil and intrigue that gripped Nottinghamshire, the Sheriff of Nottingham seized upon an opportunity to assert his authority and strike a blow against the outlaw menace that plagued his lands. He announced plans to hold a grand archery contest in the heart of Nottingham, with the promise of a lavish prize for the winner and the hope of drawing Robin Hood out of hiding. Word of the contest spread like wildfire throughout the land, and soon archers from far and wide descended upon Nottingham to test their skill and vie for the coveted prize. Among them was Robin Hood, who saw the contest as an opportunity to both prove his prowess with a bow and strike a blow against the sheriff's regime. Disguised in the garb of a humble traveler, Robin made his way to Nottingham under cover of darkness, his heart pounding with anticipation for the challenge that lay ahead. As he entered the bustling marketplace where the contest was to be held, he marveled at the sea of faces that surrounded him, each filled with hope and determination to emerge victorious. But as the contest got underway, and the archers took aim at the distant targets, Robin's keen eye quickly singled out the sheriff's champion, a brash and arrogant nobleman, who boasted of his skill and belittled his competitors with every shot. Determined to humble the sheriff's champion and claim the prize for himself, Robin stepped forward from the crowd and took his place among the contestants. With a steady hand and a focused mind, he drew his bow and let fly a single arrow that soared through the air with deadly accuracy, striking the bull's-eye with pinpoint precision. The crowd erupted into cheers as Robin's arrow found its mark, and the sheriff's champion stared in disbelief as his own shot fell short of the mark. In that moment, Robin knew that he had emerged victorious not just in the contest, but in the hearts of the people of Nottinghamshire, who hailed him as a hero and a champion of justice. But as the cheers faded and the celebrations began, Robin knew that the sheriff's wrath would be swift and merciless. With the contest won and the prize in hand, he prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, determination, and a steadfast belief in the righteousness of his cause. Chapter 12. Betrayal in the Moonlight. As the festivities of the archery contest came to a close, and the people of Nottingham dispersed into the night, Robin Hood and his band of merry men retreated into the safety of Sherwood Forest, their spirits buoyed by their victory and the support of the villagers who hailed them as heroes. But amidst the revelry and celebration, a shadowy figure lurked in the shadows, watching and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sir Guy of Gisborne, the sheriff's cunning lieutenant, had been biding his time, patiently waiting an opportunity to capture Robin Hood and deliver him into the hands of Prince John. Under the cover of darkness, Sir Guy assembled a band of mercenaries and set out into the forest in pursuit of the outlaw band. Armed with knowledge of the land, and the element of surprise on his side, he vowed to bring an end to Robin Hood's reign of terror, once and for all. As the moon hung high in the sky and the stars twinkled overhead, Robin and his comrades settled in for the night, unaware of the danger that lurked just beyond the trees. But as they slept, Sir Guy and his men closed in, their footsteps muffled by the soft carpet of leaves that covered the forest floor. With a sudden rush of movement, Sir Guy's mercenaries descended upon the camp, their weapons glinting in the moonlight as they surrounded the unsuspecting outlaws. Caught off guard and outnumbered, Robin and his band fought valiantly to defend themselves, but the element of surprise was too great, and soon they found themselves overwhelmed by Sir Guy's forces. In the chaos and confusion of the ensuing battle, Robin was separated from his comrades and captured by Sir Guy himself, who bound him in chains and prepared to deliver him to Prince John, as a token of his loyalty and devotion. As dawn broke over Sherwood Forest and the birds began to sing, Robin Hood found himself imprisoned within the walls of Nottingham Castle, his fate hanging in the balance as the forces of darkness closed in on him. But even in the darkest hour, he refused to abandon hope, knowing that his comrades would stop at nothing to rescue him and restore justice to Nottinghamshire once and for all. Chapter 13. Robbing the Rich. With Robin Hood imprisoned within the walls of Nottingham Castle, Sherwood Forest fell into a sombre silence, the absence of its fearless leader casting a shadow over its inhabitants. But even in the face of adversity, the merry men refused to surrender to despair, rallying together to devise a daring plan to rescue their beloved leader and strike a blow against the sheriff's tyranny. Led by Little John and Friar Tuck, the merry men set out under cover of darkness to infiltrate the castle and free Robin from his captivity. Armed with cunning disguises and a knowledge of the castle's secret passages, they moved stealthily through the labyrinthine corridors, evading the watchful eyes of the guards as they searched for their imprisoned comrade. Meanwhile, in the depths of his dungeon cell, Robin bided his time, his mind racing with thoughts of escape and revenge against those who had betrayed him. Though shackled and outnumbered, his spirit remained unbroken, fueled by the unwavering belief that justice would prevail in the end. As the night wore on and the castle slept, the merry men closed in on their target, their hearts pounding with anticipation for the daring rescue that lay ahead. With each step bringing them closer to their goal, their determination grew stronger, until at last they reached the door to Robin's cell and prepared to spring into action. With a swift blow, Little John shattered the lock on the cell door, sending it crashing to the ground with a resounding thud. Robin emerged from the darkness, his eyes gleaming with determination, as he embraced his comrades and prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With Robin Hood once again at their side, the merry men set out into the night, their hearts filled with hope and their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that together they could overcome any obstacle in their path. And as they disappeared into the shadows of Sherwood Forest, they vowed to continue their fight against injustice until every man, woman, and child in Nottinghamshire could live free from fear and oppression. Chapter 14. Justice for the Oppressed. With Robin Hood rescued from the clutches of Nottingham Castle, the merry men regrouped in the safety of Sherwood Forest, their spirits renewed and their resolve strengthened by their daring escape. But even as they celebrated their victory, they knew that their struggle against the sheriff's tyranny was far from over. Determined to strike back against the forces of oppression, Robin and his band of merry men set out on a series of daring raids against the sheriff's strongholds, targeting the corrupt officials who had long oppressed the people of Nottinghamshire. With each successful raid, they liberated the wealth that had been stolen from the poor and distributed it among those who needed it most, striking fear into the hearts of the sheriff's lackeys and giving hope to the downtrodden. But as their audacious exploits continued, so too did the sheriff's determination to crush the rebellion. He marshaled his forces and launched a relentless campaign to hunt down Robin Hood and his merry men, sparing no expense in his quest to see them brought to justice. Undeterred by the sheriff's threats and the dangers that lurked around every corner, Robin and his comrades pressed on, their hearts aflame with the fire of justice, and their spirits unbroken by the challenges they faced, for they knew that their cause was just, and that as long as they stood together, they could overcome any obstacle in their path. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars twinkled overhead, Robin Hood and his band of merry men continued their fight against injustice, their courage and determination serving as beacons of hope for all who dared to dream of a better future. And as they rode into the night, they vowed to never rest until every man, woman, and child in Nottinghamshire could live free from fear and oppression, their hearts filled with the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 15. The Legacy of Sherwood. As the years passed and the legend of Robin Hood faded into memory, the spirit of justice and compassion that he embodied lived on in the hearts of the people of Nottinghamshire, though the forests of Sherwood grew silent, and the tales of daring exploits became little more than whispers on the wind. The legacy of Robin Hood endured, inspiring generations to come to stand up against injustice and fight for what is right. In the villages and towns that dotted the countryside, the memory of Robin Hood and his band of merry men was kept alive through songs and stories passed down from one generation to the next. Children grew up hearing tales of the outlaw hero who stole from the rich to give to the poor, and they dreamed of one day following in his footsteps and making a difference in the world. But beyond the borders of Nottinghamshire, the legend of Robin Hood spread far and wide, capturing the imaginations of people from all walks of life. From the humblest peasant to the mightiest nobleman, all were touched by the story of the outlaw who defied the powers that be and stood up for those who could not stand up for themselves. And though the forests of Sherwood may have faded into memory, the spirit of Robin Hood lived on in the hearts of those who dared to believe that a better world was possible. For as long as there were injustices to be righted and tyrants to be overthrown, the legend of Robin Hood would endure as a symbol of hope and inspiration for all who dared to dream of a brighter tomorrow. Epilogue. The eternal legend. Even as time marched forward and the pages of history turned, the legend of Robin Hood remained etched in the annals of Nottinghamshire's lore, a timeless testament to the enduring power of courage, compassion, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Though the names of those who had walked in his footsteps faded from memory. Their deeds lived on in the hearts of those who dared to dream of a world where righteousness triumphed over oppression and the downtrodden found solace in the embrace of justice. And so, as the sun set on Sherwood Forest and the stars twinkled overhead, the spirit of Robin Hood continued to inspire all who dared to believe in the power of hope and the promise of a better tomorrow. For as long as there were tales to be told and hearts to be stirred, the legend of Robin Hood would endure, a beacon of light in a world shrouded in darkness, guiding the way for all who dared to dream of a brighter future. Thanks for watching.